Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options and Play video update. Um, Throughout like the last month, a lot of the names that we had in like our go-to playbook from last year have really started to act a little bit different, right? Maybe if you look at it on a day-to-day basis, maybe you're not seeing like the fact that some of the patterns are changing, or maybe you're still kind of stuck in the mentality of being growth names are going to keep going higher. Basically, people will still, want growth names. They will still want e-commerce names. They will still want those names that really did fantastic last year. And that may end up happening, right? Like that might end up playing out again. But we are starting to see things break, right? We're starting to see a change of that. And, I guess one of the things I was talking about in the VTF today, and one of the things I really want to highlight is that like the difference between recognizing when something is changing can really be valuable, right? Because obviously money wise, when you're talking about trading, especially options, like trades revolve around making money, or like designing like risk to reward, right? Or trying to like minimize losses. So when you look at a stock like SE, which was like a giant winner from last year, right? I mean, it was an e-commerce name, just absolute home run stock. I mean, doubled, tripled. I mean, I think at one point it was up, like 4x for the year. And you can see, I mean, very clearly, right? Like this was like a very strong trending stock. Months on end, it just rode the 20-day, it rode the 8 EMA, it rode the 50-day. And then, yes, it's pulled back, and yes, it may bounce, but it's starting to break a lot of those levels, and the trend is starting to break, right? So it's still a good company, right? And it could still be like a very big grower, right? Like the numbers might not just fall off a cliff, but the thing is, like, if the pattern changes, the stock action might change too, right? So you have to design strategies to reflect that. Like if I'm looking at a stock like SE that's in a trend, right? Like you assume when the trend holds, you're looking for bounce, right? Rolls over to the trend, bounce. Rolls over to the trend, bounce, et cetera, right? You get my point. When it rolls into the trend, holds a trend, you're looking for a bounce. Now the trend's breaking, that type of consistent, like defined patterns, just it's not there anymore, right? So it could bounce, but in terms of like the time frame, it's unknown, right? Because there could be more room to the downside. It's still trying to figure out where the levels are going to be because the pattern's breaking, the momentum's breaking, right? So for me, it's like I could get involved with something like this, but the time frame is going to be the most challenging aspect of it, right? Because I don't know when it's going to firm up because it's losing levels, and B, I don't know when it's going to get back to levels that it was at a few months ago because it was such like a momentum based name. It was such like a trending name that once it starts to break, profit taking momentum might go the opposite way, right? Like you don't know what will cause it to go lower. It's just hard to tell when it's going to go back up, right? So for like an option trade, anything I would do when I see is something like with like a trend breaking, I would prefer to err on the side of more time. Okay. And that's because it's harder to predict, right? When it was in a trend, you can predict the action a little bit better because it's been very consistent, right? You can see that when it bounces, it's usually at a new high within a few weeks. But now that it's broken, it's much harder to predict. So you don't know where it's going to go. You don't know when it's going to get there. So it's if it's something that you're interested in, yeah, maybe you want to take a look at it. But in terms of time frame, it would be more months for me, not weeks. Okay, and you have to pay up for options like that. But maybe you're looking at that flies. Maybe you're looking at spreads, some way to like manage the risk. But the time is the biggest question mark. Like how long is it going to take? It could be a week, could be a month, it could be a year, right? Like you don't know because the trend is broken. It's harder to predict. So when it comes down to patterns like this, and you're starting to see it a lot more on some of these big names from last year, it's you either have to err on the side of caution with time, or maybe wait for like a really nice setup that you really have a lot of confidence in. Okay. Um, so I wanted to highlight that because I was talking about it today, and I mean that's basically just popped up one that kind of like fit the bill, and I wanted to talk about it. But I mean you can find like numerous other examples of like stocks like this that are breaking these really 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 aggressive uptrends from last year. All right. So If you like this video and you're looking for more information on swing trading with options or maybe trading like leaps, right, like long-term options, please follow up with the link in the description of the video for more information on options to play. Hope you have a wonderful night. Stay well, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.